Welcome to
Science Weekly.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Tali.
And I'm Daniel.
Today, Future Chemists, you'll be learning about
The effects of pharmaceuticals on drinking water.
And how to remove them. But before we get started, some of you may not know what pharmaceutical means. It is any type of drug or medication.
So let's get started.
the first topic we'll be talking about today is how pharmaceuticals end up in our drinking water. Pharmaceuticals could end up in our drinking water by people flushing unused or expired medications down the drain or toilet. Another cause is some chemicals leak and are discarded from the medications in landfill sites. However, yes, there's a however, the majority of pharmaceutical pollution comes from excreted medication. These medications are not fully absorbed by the body. Hence, this is why they're being excreted in urine and flushing it down the toilet.
Also, there are medications which are ingredients in creams which are not fully absorbed into the body. And when these ingredients aren't fully absorbed into the body, they're washed off your body into the water source. A major source for this issue would be agriculture. Livestock and poultry feces are filled with antibiotics and hormones, similar to the antibiotics and hormones which can be found in human bodies. These hormones and antibiotics aren't fully absorbed as well, and they come from the food and medication being fed to livestock. With these hormones and antibiotics leach into our groundwater, they end up in the water source.
And lastly, you should know that healthcare institutions also contribute to this pollution. Although hospitals have pharmacies within their facilities and they could simply dispose or return the unused medications to that pharmacy. However, their nursing homes are the main source for this pollution when looking into the healthcare institutions. When a patient dies or is being transferred to a different facility, the employees would flush down the drain the patient's medications, as they're not being needed anymore. Some facilities are encouraging such procedure to be done. Yes, I know, encouraged. To discard the medications through the drain or flush it, isn't it that crazy? Now, we will hand over the next topic to Jessica, which is why the pharmaceuticals in our drinking water are bad for our health.
So I'll be talking about what Tali just mentioned, which is why pharmaceuticals in our drinking water are bad for our health. As for now, there's no clear evidence for the health effects of pharmaceuticals in the human body. Although the concentrations of these pharmaceuticals are extremely low, there is no concern regarding the hormones that can be found in drinking water. Although they are low concentrations, they can still affect the human body since our hormones work on a low concentration. There is a study conducted by Alison Frank and Professor Jack Watson from Penn State University that it is a possible chance that the pharmaceuticals in the water can contribute to the growth of bacteria that are resistant to the common antibiotics, which are serious health issues. Now we will head over to Daniel and see what he has to say about these pharmaceuticals affecting the environment.
So as you all know, I will be talking about how pharmaceuticals have an effect on the environment. Rebecca Clapper, a freshwater scientist at the University of Wisconsin, discovered high levels of the diabetes drug metformin in Lake Michigan. Metformin is the most common drug found in the lake. Metformin and other drugs are still being found to this day, even almost 5 kilometers from their point of origin, which is the sewage treatment plant. Fish exposed to metformin, levels similar to those in the lake, develop genes related to egg production in females, indicating a change in the fish's hormones. Other drugs such as hormone replacements, antibiotics, contraceptives, and antidepressants could have an even larger negative impact on aquatic wildlife. These medications will have a far greater effect on smaller organisms due to the fact that the typical dosing concentration for a human is far greater than the concentrations found in the lake. For example, in Lake Michigan, the concentrations for metformin were as high as 40 milligrams a liter to as low as 0.012 milligrams offshore. These levels are low enough to have little effect on humans and most other fairly large organisms. but they're high enough to possibly affect smaller organisms like algae and smaller insects. Now we'll hand the mic over to Tally to tell us about how to remove these gross pharmaceuticals from our drinking water.
I'll be talking about how our treatment centers removes those pharmaceuticals from our water. There are two methods in which our water are being cleaned, whether it is by activated carbon filter or the water are being chlorinated. However, because there is such a broad range of medications, one single method could not eliminate all of the medications that are found in our drinking water. An issue that there is with the achieving of full elimination of contaminants of water is experts are saying that in order to get our water to be pure and clean, the process of achieving such will be extremely expensive and will increase the use of energy. This would not only result in harming the environment even more, because the usage of energy is already a primary reason as for why we have greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, which is already a big issue that needs to be taken care of. But it would also make the energy bill a burden upon the municipalities and cities and us, the citizens, as a large portion of the energy bill already goes towards paying for the operation of those water treatment plants. The next topic will sadly be the last and final things.
There are not many things we could do about this issue just because pharmaceuticals in drinking water are very costly to remove and are harmful to the environment. But something we could do is raise awareness for this issue.
We could also set up more drop boxes in order to collect unused medication so that it will be easier to dispose of properly.
Lastly, having the drug manufacturers to work on the development of medication that the active ingredient within them would be fully absorbed by the human body could also help in solving that pollution.
In conclusion of today's episode of Science Weekly,
we all hope you learned something about the effect of pharmaceuticals have in our drinking water.
And we hope you'll take action to get clean water. And remember, stay hydrated.